So long division, yes, we did in 3rd grade. But we're going to go back over long division so I can explain what we're doing with synthetic division. Whenever we are doing division today, we're trying to solve problems like this. So it's not quite as simple as just the numbers that we did in 3rd grade. It's a little bit different, okay? But if we can understand it and remind ourselves how we divide it this way, it might help us to find out this new way that we're going to divide. And it sounds complicated because I've written these processes, but I think you'll get it, all right? So when it says 1289 divided by 4, what it means is 4 goes on the outside, and then you have 1289. Again, I just want to show you so that I can remind you how you do the long division so we can talk about synthetic division. So how many times does 4 go into 12? 3. So a 3 comes up, you multiply it, and then you subtract it. Didn't have anything left, so now I bring down the next number. Okay, how many times does 4 go into 8? 2. Then I multiply it, I don't have anything left, bring down the next number. I'm sorry, I'm not going to run off the room here, but that's okay. Alright, 4 goes into 9. How many times? 2. You get 8, subtract it, and you get a 1. We can continue if we want. Another way to write it is that you can just say you have a remainder of 1. Another way to write it is to say that it's a 1/4. Whatever you have left over, if you divide it by what was being divided, we can say that our answer is 322 and 1/4, or we can say our answer is 322 remainder of 4. Either one of those is correct. And yes, we could continue it out with a decimal and do some zeros, but we won't do that process here. Okay? But the process of multiplying and then combining is the same thing that will happen here. So, like I said, I wrote out the processes, but we're going to talk through it as we go. So number 1 says, find the 0 or change the sign of the factor you're using to divide. It goes in the box on the left. So we're dividing by x minus 7. So we're going to change that to a positive 7, and it's going to go in a box. Then it says, use the coefficients as the numbers in the top row. What that means is there's going to be a row right here beside the 7, and the numbers I'm going to put there are the numbers that are the coefficients of what you're dividing. Okay? It says you must include a coefficient for each power. Just very quickly, notice that, okay, I have the second power, I have the first power, and then I have a number. That's good. Nothing's missing. If there was something missing, I would have to put a 0 in its place, kind of like a placeholder. Okay, I'll show you that when we get to one like that. So we're just going to put 1, -3, and then -21. Okay? Draw a little line and leave a space because we're going to write some things here. Next it says bring down the first number. So you start by bringing that first number down. Then it says multiply and add, etc. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply 7 times 1, and it goes here, and then we add. -3 plus 7 is 4. So then we multiply again, 7 times 4, and then we add. Alright, the last number is the remainder. That means that 7 is the remainder. The answer is the polynomial before the remainder, and it's backwards. So this is what I mean. If that's the remainder, the 4 is a number, the 1 has an x on it. See how we started with x squared, x, and then a number? It's always in order, and the last one is the number that's not before the, or the one before the remainder is the number, and one before that has an x. If there was something else up here, that would be an x squared. If there was something else, it would be x to the third. And I think it'll make more sense as we do some more. So what that means is that our final answer, you can write it as 1x, or you can just write x plus 4. And normally the remainder is written as 7 over whatever you're dividing by. And so that's the answer.
So we divide by 2, right?
Okay, and so it says x plus 2, but I have to change the sign. So I'm going to put a -2 in the little box. And then I have to write down these coefficients. First of all, I have to figure out, do I have everything listed that I'm supposed to? X to the third, x squared, x, and a number. Yes, everything's good. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 7, and 9. All right. Bring down the first number. Multiply and add. 2 plus -2 is 0. Multiply. -2 times 0 is 0. Add. 7 plus 0. Multiply. And then add. 9 minus 14 is 5. Alright? So the last number is the remainder. Yes. So there'll be a 7, and then an x, and then an x squared. So when you write your answer, you can write the 0x if you want to, or you don't have to write it since it's a 0. So really we have x squared plus 7, remainder of 5, which is 5 over x plus 2. Notice on number 4 we've got 4, 3, and it skips on down to 1. We're missing the x squared term, which means we're missing a 0. Okay? So when we write this one out, we're going to put -2 in the box. 1, -3, 0, 5, and -6. And then we do the process. On that one, I just wanted you to see that if you're missing it, you've got to put it in there. Alright, so we're going to bring down the 1, multiply, and add. If you can't add that, use your calculator, use Desmos, it's okay. -2 times -5 is 10, positive. 0 plus 10 is 10. Multiply, add. Multiply, and add. So 24 is your remainder. On some of the work that you'll see this week, I might just ask you the remainder. You don't have to write down all the stuff, you just have to write down the last one. Alright, that's your remainder. That's your number. This has an x with it. This has an x squared. And this has an x to the third. It's always just 1, and you just keep going up. So to write the final answer out, if you needed to, it would look like this. And then divide by what you started with, which was x plus 2. Alright, on this one, don't forget to change the sign of what's inside the parentheses. And then you're also missing that 0 term again. So we're going to put that x squared right there. We'll have 6, -8, 0, 12, -14. Bring down the 6. 2 times 6 is 12. And then you get 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Add and get 8. 2 times 8 is 16. And you get 28. Multiply here, you get 56. So 42 is the remainder. You have 28. That's an x squared, and x to the third. So our answer is 6x to the third plus 4x squared plus 8x plus 28 with a remainder of 42, or 42 over x minus 2. Alright, on these next problems, it doesn't say to divide. It says use division to figure out the y value, to evaluate. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, see, it's different here because it says x equals 2 or x equals 1. If you already know what x equals, that's the number that goes in the box. Up here, when we didn't know, we had to change the sign to figure out what number went in the box. Okay? You do not change the sign here because it already says x equals. So on this one, we'll put 2 in the box. And then the numbers, everything's in order, everything's listed. So I just bring it down. And then I divide exactly the way that we have been doing. And then I'll show you what the answer is when we get finished. So go ahead and try it. So we bring down the 2, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. When it says for you to evaluate and it doesn't say for you to divide, the remainder is the y value. The remainder is the answer. That means 35 is the answer, and you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to write out a problem. You're just trying to figure out what the answer is. Let me show you real quick. If you put that in the calculator, and in the place of all the x's, if we put a 2, because it says evaluate, that's what it does, is it gives us that value. This is just another way to do it, and so this could be your check if you wanted to check to see if you did it right. Okay? Go ahead and try number 8. So 1 goes in the box. We've got 3, negative 8, 7. 3 comes down. You add, multiply, add. There's our answer. So 2 is correct. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to talk about factoring. And it doesn't seem that the two are related, factoring and dividing, but they actually are. Because the factors are what makes the answer, okay? And what we've been doing is we've been trying to figure out some factors. Although we never got a remainder of 0, that's what we were doing. We were trying to see if any of those things were factors, and they were not. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a pattern that works for cubes. But then I'm going to show you how you can divide to figure out what the answer would be. Okay? So the pattern goes like this. You get rid of the cubes, and so you have a plus b. You square the a, square the b, and then you multiply these two together and you change your sign. And I know that's really weird, but that's okay. It's just the process. And once I show you the process, I'm going to show you a division one. So the minus sum of cubes and difference of cubes, they work the same way. So here you just put a minus b instead of plus like here. Square the a. Multiply that together and change the sign. And then square the b. Now, the thing is, some of us don't want to remember the process, so we'd rather think of it a different way. So what we were going to do is, first, we're going to graph x cubed plus 27. So we're not done with Desmos. And we want to graph x cubed plus 27. And when we graph it, I want to look for the zeros. Notice there's only one of them, negative 3. Okay? So when I go, negative 3 is what goes in the box because I found the 0. And then I write out my things like I have been. 1, here I'm missing an x squared and an x, and then the number. So I'm missing 2 things there. You need both of them. Bring down your 1. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply